had utmost conviction for God. One of them goes in the city and says, Jesus is the truth, he is God's son, worship him, do not worship these other gods, these statues. And he talks to the crowd cheers with him, yells with him. That's great, that's true, they promote him. Another man goes to an exact same type of city in different areas, says, Jesus is the truth, he's God's son, don't worship these other gods. They crucified him, they killed him. So, good things can happen with conviction, bad things can happen with conviction. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they knew that. They said, our God can protect us. He might not, but we know that he can. And we're not going to worship somebody else just because he may not. Now, back to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These guys, they knew they might die in the fire. They were willing, they were thrown in. The flames were hot enough to kill the guys who threw them inside. And they fall into the fire, and the Lord lets them go through the flames, but will not let the flames go through them. He allows the flames to burn off the ropes that bound them, but he does not let them get hurt. He brings his angel down into the furnace with them to keep them company, to keep them safe and protected. It's just like in real life with us every day, that we'll go through problems, we'll go through health problems, through relationship problems, through family problems, friendship problems. And it's the fire that he sends down to us. But ultimately, the fire is just going to break free the things that are binding us. God's not going to let the fire engulf us and kill us. It's freeing us. Now, in this story, the king, Nebuchadnezzar, was really the one who had a bad day. He went from appalled that they weren't bowing down to his statue. He was threatening them. He was angry. He was bewildered. He was scared when they were still alive. And he was amazed. And then he went back to threatening, said, we're still going to kill somebody, just people who don't follow their God. But Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, they went home and said, hey honey, I'm home. Hey sweetheart, how was work? Oh, it was great, I got promoted. Yeah, there was whole thing about thrown into a fiery furnace, but no big deal. They had the good day. They had the conviction that they needed. The king, he had nothing. He had nothing going for him. Now the question we need to ask ourselves is, who are we like? Do we have the conviction? Do we have that firm belief? Are we like Nebuchadnezzar? Do we just kind of go with the flow? I see this, yeah, I'll believe that. I'll see that, yeah, I'll believe that. And right now I'm preaching, to the choir. But, because everybody in this room has a conviction of some sort, of some magnitude. We're all in church every Sunday. I mean, it's hard. I mean, you can, especially those of us in college that are back today. It's a late Saturday night. Who wants to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go to church? But a lot of us are doing it because we have that conviction. We're all here after a Saturday night because we have that conviction. Now without the conviction, we just look foolish. We really do. And I went to Catholic Mass one Saturday night. And I've gone to plenty of Catholic Masses. I know they've got different prayers than we do. They've got hand signals that we don't do. It's different atmosphere. And so I was following along the whole church. I was keeping with it. And the pastor's talking. I look down to read the history of the church. I glance up and I see a hand signal, so I start following along with the hand signal. Everyone's looking at me like I'm the most foolish person in the church. I look at the lady, she's just fixing her hair. And because of that lack of conviction, I looked foolish in front of everybody. And it's just as foolish as I looked in there. That's how foolish we look to God when we don't have conviction. It is blatantly obvious to him. And it's easy in here to say, who believes in God? Everybody's hand's shooting up. Sometimes it's not as easy outside because we feel like we're alone. We feel like people aren't there to support us. They're not going to help us. They don't understand our views or anything. But we're not alone outside. We have angels just as was sent down to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the furnace. They might not be in the form of Elijah. They might not be walking around the oval with wings and a halo. But they're in the form of family, of friends, of teachers, professors, anybody. These people are there. God's sending them down to us to help us through our problems, no matter what the problem is. And yet sometimes people still feel alone. And to close it out, there's a story that I want to tell you. And I've spent the last year in Charleston, South Carolina. Charleston is an absolutely beautiful city in downtown historic Charleston. North Charleston, not so much. It's an incredibly dangerous city. And there was a high school age girl this past first semester, I suppose, in the fall. And every night she'd go to her best friend's house. They'd do homework, watch some TV. She'd go back home. Well, one day they watched a movie. There was a lot of homework, and we had set the clocks back, so it was getting darker earlier. And she looked at the clock. She looked outside. It was already dark, and she knew her mom was going to have her hide if she wasn't home soon. And so she says, "I gotta leave." Leaves, walks out. She's going through downtown. She knows that she needs to get home ASAP, so she decides to cut through an alley. About halfway through the alley, she's walking through, pitch black. She sees a guy standing there, incredibly threatening looking, dressed in black, standing there, arms crossed, and she is scared out of her mind. And so immediately she starts praying, "God, please protect me walking through this alley. Please do not let him harm me." Going through, he doesn't move an inch. Everything's fine. She goes home, goes to sleep. Next day at school, she goes to school, no problem. Here's on the radio on the way home that 20 minutes after she had walked through that alley, another girl about her age was raped and almost beaten to death. And anybody with any information, please go to the local police department. She books it down there. Talks to the police, says, "Yeah, I was there 20 minutes earlier. I could identify the guy." They say, "Great, we've got a lineup." They show the lineup. There's a fully. She says, "That's him, right there. That's the one." As soon as she says, "That's the one," this guy breaks down crying, saying, "Yes, I did it. I'm sorry. I apologize. Everything." And she asked if he can ask him. She asked the police officers if she can ask the man a question. He said, "Sure." So they walk up with her, and she looks at him and says, "Why? Why didn't you hurt me? Why didn't you rape me? Why her, not me?" And the man looked at her, amazed, and says, "I couldn't hurt you. I couldn't do anything to you. You had that guy there with you." That was the answer to her prayer. She asked for Jesus to be with him. He was there with her. We're not alone anytime. In this church with our family, we're not alone. Outside in a dark alley, we're not alone. Amen.